If you want to take anything out of my presentation today, it would be, I bet, this paragraph. Sociological research on the subject clearly points out that social relations and cultural values are a dynamic process. They change over time. It does not mean as if perhaps ideological evolution can take place by tampering with scriptures. Scriptures always remain the same, but their adherents move on to establish new values and new relations. In such circumstances, scriptures practically become marginal. American and European experience tells us that marginalization of scriptures is tied to social, political, and economic developments that completely transforms collective cultural outlook. In a society where rights are enshrined and justice is woven in the fabric of society, people progressively distance themselves from scriptures. I suspect the Quran will come to face a similar destiny in 21st century, but I anticipate that the road is going to be long and tedious. Movement of history has brought us to the age of emancipation in 21st century, where there is only one plausible outcome of structure of society. It is egalitarianism. This takes us to the second type of problem that Quran has. Quran falls short on egalitarianism, that is the cornerstone of slowly ripening democratic culture in the world. I quote a verse from Quran, Surah Bani Israel, it's verses 21. See how we have bestowed more on some than on others, but surely the hereafter is more in rank and gradation and more in excellence, unquote. Quranic vision in this verse quoted above does not close the gap for social inequality. In this age, there is a universal consensus that no distinction or no discrimination will be made on the basis of gender, race, or social status. It is worth noting here that the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a lot more egalitarian manifesto than any scripture in the history of mankind so far. Quranic laws of inheritance bespeak gender inequality that does not have any place in 21st century. It appears that Quran asserts rights for males, whereas it appeals to good angels in males in their dealing with females. There is not much in Quran to ensure rights for females as assertively as it does for males. Verse 4.34 in Quran consents to wife beating. This verse has been interpreted in countless ways to make it mellow. Regardless what, I'm wondering if there is any verse in Quran that grants similar rights if there are issues with their husbands? Quran does not abolish slavery. It is still on the book. Appeal to common decency is not sufficient legal protection to slaves if we go by the book. Quranic injunctions about slave men and women are almost as primitive as the code of Hammurabi, the Babylonian king who ruled Mesopotamia for more than 3,000 years ago. My next point is about polygamy. As you know, it is admissible in Islam, but polyandry is not. Some of the faithful try to justify this asymmetry on statistical grounds because there are generally more females in a society than males. Hence, polygamy is a natural way to live. It is true, however, that polygamy in Quran is tied to just treatment. And I'm going to make another argument now, and I'm almost willing to bet that you might not have heard this argument before, so I need your attention on this one. And that's based on some statistical evidence also. Consider a new piece of factual data published in Policy Review 2004. Globally, gender ratio between boys and girls has always been stable in demographic surveys. But new patterns are emerging from China and other parts of the world that suggest strong preponderance in favor of males. In view of this new demographic evidence, and in such circumstances, one wonders, an eternal book like the Quran, does it allow for polyandry? It should, if it is to be relevant in 21st century, but I have not come across any verse in Quran that would sanction such a proposition. There are suggestions that Quran did foretell scientific discoveries of recent past. This is an interesting suggestion. Mostly people stretch the meanings of Quranic words to custom fit them to new discoveries. There is no evidence of any scientific discovery made by religious scholars. There is no need for Quran, God, or any supernatural hypothesis for making scientific discoveries, and no discovery is final in scientific domain. This is an attitude and an approach to life that does not sit well with divine pedestal that Quran enjoys. On the other hand, Quran has been barely subjected to conceptual and textual analysis using hermeneutic principles. Such endeavors may have a potential for changing attitudes towards Quran in 21st century. If history is any guide to the future, I would venture to say that the age of scriptures is over. If there is any scripture for our age, it is the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And if there is to be a new prophet for our age, maybe it is the internet that brings forth collective knowledge of mankind and serves to emancipate and empower those who seek help. Internet is a powerful tool at the disposal of humanity in this age. Internet is dynamic, humble, and forgiving. It does not make pompous statements and arrogant injunctions that is the hallmark of religious scriptures. But let's set it aside for now and cast a brief look at ideology in the structure of Islam. Quran upholds a hierarchical vision for mankind. God is the supreme source of knowledge. Knowledge is revealed to mankind through the Prophet. Submission to the Prophet and obedience of those who are made as rulers is a sacred duty of the commoners. This is a vision for a perfect ruler in an ideal state. This is a vision for a perfect ruler in an ideal state. Common human beings are actors obeying God's will herein. Inherently, they are in constant need for divine guidance and authoritarian direction from perfect teacher who is a perfect ruler as well. It is the caliph, the head of an Islamic state. Nonetheless, it creates a nostalgia from which collective Muslim psyche has never been able to escape. And that takes me to my last paragraph, and that is the challenge that we have in 21st century. The challenge that 21st century poses for Muslims is to come to a mindset that blends social dynamics with political and material realities. Any operative vision that has a hierarchical conception of human relations is always willing to sacrifice dynamism for stability. It is stringent and stagnant. It does not allow for imperfections. However, it is human imperfections that collectively make an organic union in the form of a society that is living, breathing, and constantly changing. Scriptures that fulfilled societal needs in antiquity may not have great relevance in 21st century discourse because collective human experience, however imperfect, offers a more rational vision for mankind in 21st century than nostalgia and romanticism.
That is a sign for it.
Scriptures that fulfilled societal needs in antiquity may not have great relevance in 21st century discourse because collective human experience, however imperfect, offers a more rational vision for mankind in 21st century than nostalgia and romanticism proffered by scripture myths. Thank you so much.